All right, and we are back for another edition of the Wellness Upgrade. My guest today, you might remember her from 4-ish months ago, I
Yep, that
think,
sounds right.
right? We've got Kylie Melvin from the Primitive Prairie. Kylie, how you doing today?
I am doing good. How are you?
Fantastic. Good to have you back.
Thank you.
Anything new with Primitive Prairie before we get into what we're going to talk about today? But since the last
Yeah.
time we talked, anything new?
I've expanded my line. I'm always expanding my line. And also, I was invited to speak at the Women's Homesteading Conference this year. So I will be doing a whole like foraging and herbalist session with that.
Awesome.
So yeah, I'm excited about that.
There you go. Onward and upward.
Yeah.
So
Spreading the good news.
absolutely. So, with this segment, we're all things health and wellness. So, what we're going to talk about today is you're a clinical herbalist, and we're going to talk about holistic health and wellness. So, just tell us a little bit about what that is. What is a clinical herbalist and some of the things that you do?
So, a clinical herbalist, so there is no licensing for herbalists in the United States. So, that's why I went and got board certified as a wellness practitioner because it gives you a little legitimacy in a world where there's not a lot of trust in herbalists. So, what that does is just like when you look at a doctor, people talk about doctors that just throw medicine at people to mask symptoms. The herbalist that just throws herbs at people to mask symptoms is no better than a doctor that would
Right.
do that. So, what I like to do is look at the whole person and break it down with a lot of holistic practitioners like to follow the foundations of health, which is just making sure people are meeting their baseline of what their body needs to function optimally. And sometimes that involves people asking me, well, what blood work should I have run? And of course, that's all through their doctor.
Mhm.
And then they can bring it to me. We can discuss it together, talk about their water intake, diet, sleep cycle, and all of that.
Sure.
So,
So, what are some of the things like when you're looking at that blood work?
Mm.
Something that a traditional doctor would do, or a medicine that they would give, something that
Yeah.
you would do on the herbal side that may do the same thing.
so a lot of things that doctors will do is they will look at your blood work and they will, first of all, look at what are you deficient in. They will see a lot of hormone imbalance nowadays. I've noticed that's a big one where people want to get blood work ran, especially women. That's a big, like cortisol is a big
Mhm.
buzzword out there right now. One of the things I will do is I will take it more back to the basics and say, okay, with our body, our hormones are released at a certain time. So it's like, let's look at your sleep because that's when your cortisol and all your hormones are being released. So we will look at sleep. I try not to jump right to herbal remedies, actually. And I know it's
Mhm.
hard because people hear herbalist, so they're thinking
Yeah,
I'm
you're
just giving them.
automatically gonna
Yeah, I'm like, let's look at like some herbs you could take today. It's always good to use them as a supplement, and herbs are just chock full of vitamins and minerals, so they're good to take a lot of the time anyway. But a lot of times, what we'll look at is actually just your foundations of health first and foremost, and then we will supplement with herbs.
And what are those foundations of health again?
Okay, so some have like 7 or 8, and I always say keep it simple because you don't want to overwhelm people.
Mhm.
So this is like the basics you learn in school. You need a good diet, so like nutrition, exercise, water intake, proper sleep, hygiene, and then my 5th one is mental wellness. So whether that's yoga or going to church or doing something for you, it is taking it back to like making sure you have time to decompress because we
Mhm.
live in a stressful time. So those are my 5.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And all of those together, if you don't have all of those on
Yeah.
point, you can do all the supplementation, you can add all the extra stuff.
It's
but
always good. Like
right.
if you're not sleeping well, I did a market last night and I sold a ton of sleep tea. And I always ask people like, try to make sure you're getting 7 hours. I sound like our like first grade teacher saying that,
Right.
like you need this many hours of sleep. But you know, the herbs in my sleepy time tea are great for you, but they also will help you decompress from your day. Some of my stuff has nervines in it that help you relax. So it's like okay to supplement with it.
Right.
It's just let's try to get back to the basics of what good sleep looks like, you know.
And it's huge. And that's one thing I've never really tracked my sleep
Yeah.
in terms of like doing a wearable until
Yeah, I
just
don't
this
either.
week. I just started wearing one. I got the Aura ring. So
Yeah.
I'm going to see how that goes and really
Yeah.
track my sleep that way. I've always,
Yeah.
tracked it in terms of, hey, do I feel good and how's my next
Yeah.
day? And am I
Yeah.
getting enough hours and all that?
Yeah.
But I'm interested to see these first few weeks how it actually
too.
says my REM
I've
and
heard
the
a
deep
little
sleep
about
and all
those,
that
but
stuff.
I have not
Yeah.
done it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So far, I think I've had it 4 nights.
Yeah.
And 3 of the 4 nights I was rated as good, and
Yeah.
the other one was fair. And just based on how I felt the next day,
You can
I
t
could tell.
I was gonna say, I can tell if I hit all my stages of sleep, and
Mhm.
I'm really big on studying that and how it works and our circadian rhythm, and I'm very passionate about it because it's like that is when most of the good happens in your body. They say, like, your cancer rates go up, certain cancers, not all of them, but certain cancer rates go up when you don't sleep. Usually, from what I've read, it said 85% of the time. So, because we all have nights where we, like, stay out later or
Right.
something, but 85% of the time, you should try to get 7 or more hours of sleep,
Mhm.
and you need to really get your circadian rhythm on point to make that happen, because you actually have an internal clock in your brain. It is called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. I know it's
Oh,
the
wow,
size of a
okay.
grain of rice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it actually communicates with your optic nerve to perceive day and nighttime hours.
Uh-huh.
So it tells your body, hey, now it's dark, you need to start producing melatonin. And when
Right.
people stay up till like 1 in the morning, because it's on a 24-hour cycle, if you stay up till like 1 a.m. watching TV, once you have that disruption, every good thing that happens in your all the growth hormones that are released, the
Mhm.
melatonin, the healing of your cells, the inflammation. Of course, everybody feels achy when you don't sleep well. That
Right.
happens when you sleep. So it's really important to about every facet of your body
Yeah.
systems. So
No, it's interesting
mhm.
because the one night that I said it was fair, I could definitely feel it the next day. I didn't
Yeah.
feel as
Your joints
energized.
even feel
Right,
kinda
yeah, I didn't
achy,
feel it.
isn't it?
But then one of the other nights, I woke up and I literally it was one of those nights where you felt like, man, I was just, like, knocked out. I was in a
Yeah,
deep,
yeah,
deep
yeah,
sleep, and then I look at my tracker and it
yeah.
said that, yeah, my deep sleep was a longer than normal. So
Really. And that's
it
when the
was like, wow,
best
that's kinda
happens.
I feel it, and then the tracker actually was
All of
correct
it.
and said it the same thing.
It's
So I was like, "Yeah, that's
it's one
pretty
of those
cool."
people I challenge to pay attention to because also, like, do you notice if you don't sleep as well, you might overeat the next day? Because even the hormones that tell you, like, "Hey, I'm full," those get released during deep sleeps. It's one of those things, every cycle is important, and I think I feel like through research, 7 hours is at least, like, the minimum we should be
Right.
getting. So and people are like, "I can't do that." Like, that's the time I hang out with my spouse, or that's the time I it's like, then you need to just push it back a little bit, baby steps, and just aim for 85% of the time
Mm,
and just start somewhere. Say, like, 5 nights of the week, I'm gonna start with that. I'm gonna do 7 hours,
right.
and
Or find that maybe something else in your life could go by the wayside, and then
yeah,
your spouse
yeah.
time could take up
Baby
that
step,
time, right?
yes, like, baby
And still get
steps.
your
You
sleep in,
just
right?
try to head the right direction and see if you feel that difference, because it is hard as a herbalist to have people come to you and just say, because you want, especially when I'm doing markets, especially at markets, when people are like, "Do you have anything for this?" I'm like, because it's like I want to go on this tangent, but I know there's other people here and I don't. But
Sure.
it's like when people say they have brain fog, when people say they're tired all the time, when people say they have whole body inflammation, and I want to talk about gut health or I want to talk
Right.
about sleep. I'm like, I don't know what direction to take this right now, but I'll say, well, always consider your sleep. I do have a tea to help you with that, but I'll try to just throw something in there really quick and
Yeah.
then tell them they can get a consult with me if they feel they need it.
For
It's like
sure, sure.
but I only get a few minutes with them in those situations because, like I said, the best thing to do is to help people realize how to support just their normal body functions, their systems. So
You mentioned the market you were at.
yeah,
Is there still I mean, for me personally, I'm always gonna do something herbal or natural
yeah,
before I go to a doctor, right? Every
yeah.
time. Is there still a stigma out there of that herbal medicine is kinda woo-woo or whatever you
Yes,
wanna call
very,
it,
very
right?
much so. And it's one of those things, like, it's hard for me to wrap my head around because I'm like, this was the way. Like, modern medicine's called modern medicine because it's an as this was the way for so long. And yeah, like, I'm super thankful for, like, antibiotics. There are
Mhm.
times you really need those.
Right.
There is a time and place for modern medicine, but this was the way for a long time. And in the future, I hope we can get into this, but just talking about medication that is actually just a synthetic form of plants. That's
Mhm.
actually a lot more common than people know. Some of the most popular medications they take are from plants. So for me, it's the whole idea that people are just looking at this as like the plants aren't serious. And it's like,
Right.
no, you can't take this plant if you are on a blood thinner because this
Mhm.
plant actually is good for heart health. So it's going to make sure you have a good blood flow going on. Some plants you can't take, like juniper berries, you cannot take those if you have kidney disease. So
Okay.
they do affect your bodily functions and your body systems. You can't just go out there and take whatever or mix whatever. And that's another reason I went to school for this Did I have to? No, because anybody can say I'm an herbalist. There's people that just learned it through generations, but a lot of people I found were mixing things that should not be mixed. And that is where you have people questioning herbal remedies
Right.
because you have people on extremes that'll say this will cure anything, which is, by the way, illegal. I'm
Yeah.
not allowed to
Yeah.
say that,
Right.
but people do. They'll say, "Oh, this will cure your gastrointestinal inflammation." It's like, no, it supports it. It'll help, but you can't say it'll cure it.
Right.
And
Right.
people will make these crazy claims, and then you have people on the other end that are just throwing things together and they're just doing it on the side, not really studying contraindications with medication. And then the other thing is there's just not a lot of testing out there being done on herbs. Some of the more popular ones, like St. John's wort, is a good example. They're starting to study it. It's a nervine. People take it for depression or depression with anxiety symptoms. The issue is so many people are on antidepressants and want to know if they can take St. John's wort with it. So now there have been more studies. So slowly we're getting there, but it's still like, a lot of people I think just think this is like drinking rose petals every day.
Sure.
It's like-
Sure.
but there is a lot more to it. And
No
I
doubt
feel like
about it.
that would always be the way to turn with something that oftentimes is just full of vitamins and minerals. Why wouldn't you try that first with minimal side effects instead of something with a ton of side effects?
Yeah, no doubt about
Yeah.
it. And like you said earlier with the antibiotics example,
Yeah.
is modern medicine is phenomenal with
Yeah.
acute things that need to.
Yeah.
I broke my leg. Going to the
Yeah, yes,
hospital,
yes.
they're gonna fix my leg.
Yes. Yeah.
But when it comes to like long-term health and wellness,
Yeah.
it's the foundations of health, and
Yes.
these natural methods are really where it's at to me.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
always think back to like our ancestors. I know people, um, people in my life are always kind of like, oh, you're like an old soul or like this prairie lady. It's like, no, just look at like for thousands of years, this is
Mhm.
what our body learned as its baseline of how to function. Even like we said with the circadian rhythm, that was from how our bodies functioned for thousands of years. This is like ingrained in us. This is what you should be doing to function on your daily basis. So, of course, you need to be doing that for optimal health, eating real food, drinking water when you can. Of course you need to. But
Right.
for some people, it's just like, it's such a, like you said, woo woo idea.
It
It's
is.
like,
It's
why?
for whatever
What?
reason it is.
Yeah,
For a
it
lot of
is.
people.
And for me, it's like in sense. I will never fully wrap my head around that, but I try to just educate whenever I can. Even if it's a 5-minute interaction at a market, I will go on a little spiel real quick with people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I
Well,
want more people to trust it. It's a good first option, in my opinion.
no, completely agree. And when you're talking about like data and studies,
Yeah.
yeah, they might not have the double blind study like the
Yeah.
Lipitor has or whatever
Yeah,
the case may be,
yeah.
right? But it has thousands of years of
Yeah.
people observing what happens when they
Yes.
take that, right?
And you'll see it
I
through
mean,
different countries. When
yeah.
you study it like I do, you will see this herb was used in India in ancient times, but then it was also used for a similar purpose in ancient Greece,
Right.
where they weren't really interacting with each other, but they all found this herb had similar uses.
Mhm.
So to me, the proof's kind of there. It was used, throughout history, all over the world.
Yeah, that's not
Native
something you can just
Americans,
throw
yeah.
out. It's not
Yes.
like it's just
Yes,
you
I
know?
know. That's why. So I'm pretty passionate about the uses of herbs. But like I said, just the point is always make sure you're reaching your foundations of health or try to. I know it seems unreachable sometimes in today's society, but try, especially for our kids. That's a big one for me. I feel like most of this I try to teach people is then to teach your kids this because people I think are trying to reverse what has been pushed on us the last 50 or so years. You're like, what's in the grocery stores, the processed food. So I'm hoping we can start seeing a turnaround for the next generation
Right.
too.
No,
Yeah.
completely
Yeah.
agree. So what are maybe some next steps for somebody that's taking care of those foundations that you
Mhm.
talked about already? What would their first step into working with somebody like you?
One of the things I do when you are like, okay, I'm changing the way I do things. Now I'm still having this problem. What do you have for me? I always do a free initial consultation because I want them to feel safe taking, whether it's a custom blend or just something I already make for everybody. I want them to feel comfortable taking that. And so I always do a free consult like, hey, let me know what medication you're on. Let's double check everything. I'll see what I have for you. Like we'll go back to the sleep tea
Mhm.
or a hormonal tea. It'll be, this will definitely help support you during this. I always believe in just supporting what your body should be doing, not trying to change it. So that is usually what I'll tell them. Let's do a free consult. We can talk on the phone for half an hour and
Yeah.
look at what I have for you. I always believe that. And then if they need to be like, no, I need to be held accountable. Could we do like monthly check ins? That would be different. Probably want more of their information. But for starters, I always offer that to everyone.
Awesome.
But yeah.
All right. Well, cool. Well, I'm looking forward to get a little deeper into some
Yeah.
some of these
Yeah.
topics, but appreciate you hanging out with me
Yeah.
today.
Thank you.
So tell everybody where they can get a hold of you if they want to
Yeah.
get.
So I'm on Facebook at the Primitive Prairie. And then I also have just theprimitiveprairie.com. And there is a contact me button on there. Always check your spam. I always respond, but I'm pretty sure it goes to people's spam folders. So
Sure.
just check that if you reach out to me. I always
Awesome.
get right back. So
There you go.
yeah.
So you know if you don't get right back.
Yeah,
right?
it's missing somewhere. It's
Right.
somewhere in there.
Right. Absolutely. All right. Well, we're going to have Kylie back to get deeper into this. But until then, we're going to let her get back to elevating Springfield. And for the rest of y'all, we'll be right back.